Welcome to Getting Granular, the podcast where digital marketing experts from the agency Granular talk about the latest trends, tried and true best practices, and share their unfiltered thoughts about the industry. Whether you're here to learn how to grow your business, improve your digital skills, or just want to hear some Midwest PPC experts rant about digital media, you've come to the right place.
Welcome to the Getting Granular podcast. I'm your host, Steve Kroll. I'm the vice president at the agency Granular. Today we're going to talk to our president and founder, Jordon Meyer, and we're going to dive right into the topic of the case for Bing ads. Welcome to the podcast, Jordon.
Hey, thanks. Good to be here, as always.
We've discussed internally having a podcast where we talk about Bing ads. It's something that is kind of taken for granted in the digital marketing world, but something we've seen a lot of success with for our clients. Do you maybe want to talk about what sparked the idea for talking about Bing?
Yeah, I think time and time again we run into prospects when we're talking to potential companies that we're going to help run their advertising and grow their business through paid search and paid digital, and we see kind of time and time again that they're not necessarily using Bing, or they tried it once and they totally forgot about it for years. And it's been around for a really long time, and there's a lot of great kind of stats that go into it, and lots of performance that comes out of it. It's kind of at the same kind of functionality as Google. So I think it's good to talk about it because people do forget about it, and they laugh about it, and they're like, how many people are on Bing? Because a lot of times they're not. So they just assume that the rest of the country or the rest of the world isn't, and that's wrong.
Yeah, and I guess what I would add to that is, since I've been here at Granular, I've heard you mention when we'll have conversations with organizations that have had success with Google, and then the next platform they look at is outside of Bing, and you stop them and say, hey, why aren't we looking at Bing ads? Why are we jumping right into Facebook ads?
Yeah, and I think it's the perceived difficulty of it. So lots of people jump right into Facebook, or they'll even start with Facebook, and then they're even scared of Google. So they're definitely not going into Bing. But the truth of it is that Facebook and Bing and Google are all at kind of different levels of that conversion funnel. So when you're thinking of hitting your target audience and your potential customers, you really want to be, we kind of start at the bottom of the funnel, which means someone that's really close to converting into a customer, be it that, making a sale on an e-commerce site, or generating a lead, or, selling your service to a potential customer. So where Facebook falls in is typically a little higher in the funnel, and Google and Bing are right at the bottom because user intent is so high that they go to a search engine to kind of, fulfill their need. So that's why we think, Bing and Google are at the same level of importance, even more so than like a Facebook or an Instagram, because paid social is typically a little higher in the funnel. That's not always the case, but it's often the case. So that's why it's so important to focus on search typically first.
Great. And we've queued up some really interesting facts and numbers around Bing, and I'm going to want to get your thoughts here. We've pulled out 3 reasons for making the case for Bing ads as a platform if you're having success with Google. Just quick before I get into that, some interesting numbers from Bing. Bing powers 1 in 3 searches on the internet if you're on a PC. There's 6 billion monthly searches in the United States that occur in the Bing network. And I think this is an interesting stat. 66 million searchers that are on Bing you cannot reach on Google, which at a high level that makes a lot of sense if you're looking to expand into additional areas of pay-per-click and you're having success in Google. We're talking 66 million searchers you cannot reach on the Google Ads platform, and we'll get into that. And to that point, wanted to transition into what the case is for using Bing ads if you're a digital marketer. And the first one that this seems pretty straightforward is if you're already running Google ads, setting up campaigns in Bing is easy, so why wouldn't you do it?
Right. It's just becoming easier and easier over the years because Bing is really aware of their position in the market when it comes to search and search marketing. They know that they're second and that they get forgotten about. So they've seriously made a tool just within their interface that it's basically a few clicks to import your whole campaign from Google. So you can, fire up a new Bing account and, under an hour, you can typically import everything, make some fine adjustments to, match some differences in Bing versus Google. But it's super easy. You import your campaigns. It used to be just search. Now you can do that with shopping as well, shopping ads. And it's so fast and easy to transition that over that it's kind of a no-brainer to do that. So that's on the function standpoint, but then from kind of the result standpoint, I would say it's still a no-brainer because, again, looking at that marketing funnel, if you're running good campaigns on Google and it's converting and it's within kind of your target, KPIs, there's a good chance that you're going to have similar success on Bing. There's definitely variance up and down in that performance, but nonetheless, it's worth a test. And given that, you don't have to invest a ton of time or energy to build out a Bing account, it's always kind of worth a test if you're having success in Google already.
To rewind on what you said there, I heard you say that Bing makes it very easy to import from Google. Bing knows where they're at in the pecking order, and that the actual process for taking a existing Google Ads campaign that's running and moving it into Bing, that's a efficient, easy process. Specifically, how would that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a few clicks. So you go into the interface, you set up a new Bing account, and you click import campaigns from Google. It then, asks you for your Google login. You log in, it authorizes it, and you can select which campaigns you want to bring in. So typically when we do this, we don't actually bring in every campaign right away, or at least we don't activate every campaign, because typically if you're running Google, it's built out, it's got some history, so you're really kind of running an expansive account. So just to test Bing, we'll typically suggest that you bring over some of the top performing Google campaigns, and that's typically a smaller subset of what you're running in Google. So you select those campaigns, click import, set your daily budgets and your bids, but those are also brought over from Google. Like everything's brought over, all your settings, all your bids and budgets. It's super easy. So you click import, it's done. Typically paused campaigns, and then you go back to your interface and you see all your new campaigns in Bing. You select, which ones you want to run, and you're seriously off to the races. Like I said, under an hour, but, for us, it probably takes 10, 15 minutes.
Wow. Hearing you explain that just makes it even more of a no-brainer, and the fact that you have the controls to activate certain campaigns. So instead of saying, hey, we have to turn on everything we have running in Google, what I hear you saying is if there are particular campaigns where you can have acceptable CPA goals or ROAS goals that are performing well in Google, start there with Bing, because why wouldn't you? Especially if these are campaigns that have limited volume in Google and you're already kind of maxing out your budgets.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess before we move on to the next reason why digital marketers should be investing in Bing ads, what would you say for the people who make the argument that by investing in Bing ads, you're taking money away from Google ads campaigns?
Yeah, I think people should have the same mentality of kind of budget breakdown as if they were just bidding and running ads in Google. Like if you're having a lot of success in Google and your ROI is big, let's say it's a 10-to-1. For every $1 that you invest in Google, you're getting 10 back. Not many people cut off at an arbitrary budget number if they're seeing that kind of return, because why wouldn't you invest more continuously? And that's how we see a lot of clients operate. Now, some people have, very strict budgets. They have annual budgets that they have to adhere to, which totally makes sense. But in the case of like a business that understands that ROI and the return really drives business growth, we see time and time again that people are willing to invest extra dollars because they're almost immediately getting those back. So the same reasoning should go into Bing. You shouldn't necessarily steal from Google or steal from Facebook to fund Bing. You should really find some incremental dollars because it's going to end up driving incremental sales. And that's how you grow a business. You don't just, do a little recycling program where you're always spending the same little budget. You have to spend more to make more in a lot of instances, and this is a perfect example of that.
That's good perspective to share, because if you have an existing budget, like you mentioned, that isn't going up every year and you're just having to take money from one pool and another, you should really start considering what is being done, if it's internally or with an agency, that's put us in a position where we're not trying to increase budgets because we're having success if you're just having to stay with the same budget. So that's really good perspective. The next area with Bing ads that I want to touch on, this is very exciting, is the LinkedIn targeting capability you have within their network. I think a lot of people aren't aware of this. I think even though a number of people do know that Microsoft bought LinkedIn a few years ago, I don't think they realize the extent to which that relationship has given digital marketers tools to reach their target audience with that rich LinkedIn data. Can you maybe explain that more?
Yeah, so this is a huge development that's coming out of beta right now. We've had access to this for, I think half a year or a little more at the Granular team. So we've had good success already with this for clients. Basically, think of LinkedIn and all the information that people just kind of raise their hand and give about their job, about their position, about their experience, about individual traits, and imagine that you can bid and select all those individual traits into a campaign. You could always kind of do that in LinkedIn, but now Bing has brought that into Bing ads, which is just amazing. So you can target CEOs at companies from 1,000 to 5,000 people in Milwaukee, and basically pick some broad keywords or exact keywords if you want. And basically how that functions is those people that fit your selection, your audience, those are the only people who are going to see those ads in Bing. So when these CEOs in Milwaukee search for a digital marketing agency, I'm making sure that I'm bidding a lot on those folks because they're exactly in my target demographic. I'm cutting out, very small companies, or I'm cutting out huge companies. I'm cutting out people that work at other agencies. I'm cutting out a lot of other folks because I'm really just going after, let's say like CEOs of manufacturing companies. And it's really cool. I mean, we found a ton of use cases where this makes a ton of sense for our clients. In the higher ed space, for example, if we're looking for people to get MBAs, we can target people who have undergrad degrees, who are in a business setting, who we know, they work in a place where we know their company gives tuition reimbursement. Those are prime candidates for something like an MBA. And we can do the same thing for any type of business. Like typically, if you talk to a business owner, they're going to have a pretty good idea of who their target market is. And the beauty of the LinkedIn plus Bing ads targeting is that you can dial that right in and spend more money on more targeted marketing versus kind of that more broad approach, hoping that everyone searching for this keyword is in your target, which isn't always the case.
So speaking of the targeting on a practical level, if someone wants to take advantage of the LinkedIn targeting capabilities within Bing, to confirm they only have to work within the Bing ads interface, and maybe can you explain more about, on a practical level, if they have a campaign, how they would go about triggering the LinkedIn targeting?
Right. So, they don't have to be part of LinkedIn or anything like that. The ads are run purely in Bing. They're totally separate platforms. Bing just brought in LinkedIn targeting basically at an audience level. So how it functions is you can either create a new campaign, which we would typically suggest because the targeting is more detailed, more granular. So we typically do that when you have different targeting. But I mean, just to prove it out, you can even add an audience. You can go to one campaign. Let's say it's your best performing campaign. You can go to the audiences and actually create a non kind of bid modified targeting pool. So you can select your companies or select your job titles, and basically just add them as kind of this faux targeting level or layer. And you can keep running your campaign day in and day out like you normally do. But then once you go in and view that audience, you can actually see, maybe who some of these people are, or maybe if some of those people are clicking on your ads or searching, you can get data on it without actually making a bid adjustment on it, which is pretty cool because that's kind of a beta test of your own without spending any money on it. But to talk more about like the functionality of it, the way it works is, you put a bid modifier on that audience. So if I'm targeting CEOs, I'm going to say that, those CEOs searching in Bing are worth, 20 to 50% more to me than just a normal person searching for that same term. So what I'll do is put, plus 20 or plus 50% bid modifier on it, which would increase my bid, increase my aggressiveness on that search term, and enable me to show more often, maybe in a higher position.
Awesome. Thanks for going into detail on how that works. I thought it was important to focus on that. So what I want to do in the next part of this conversation is focus on who is a good candidate for Bing ads. I feel we've done a good job of talking about how it's simple to get into Bing ads, how it makes sense because it's incremental volume you wouldn't get within Google, and the power of LinkedIn targeting within Bing. And so let's focus on putting ourselves in the shoes of our listeners. They're in a position where, all right, we've made a strong case for it, but what's a kind of mental checklist that they can run through of why they should consider Bing? So you're probably a good candidate for Bing ads if.
Sure. So you're probably a good candidate for Bing ads if you feel like your current search campaigns are kind of maxed out in Google. We can kind of go back and get in a little bit more detail. But that's kind of number one. Like if you feel like you've kind of hit a plateau in Google, it's time to move over to Bing and try that. Another reason would be that you want to profitably expand, your paid search, but maybe you've had difficulty developing creative for non-search campaigns. Maybe you've spent more money on display or on Facebook and it hasn't seen kind of the same ROI. You've tried to expand the whole overall digital marketing plan in the past, but you've maybe accidentally or intentionally ignored Bing. That's a good reason to move over because it's kind of a forgotten ROI driver. And kind of the last like no-brainer would be if you're an e-commerce company having good success with Google Shopping ads, Bing, within the last year or so has made it super easy, just as easy to bring over shopping campaigns as it is to bring over search campaigns. So again, you just go to that import feature, select it, bring it over, and they make it super simple to get up and running on shopping ads. And we've seen good performance in Bing, similar to that of Google.
Awesome. That's a great checklist. And if you don't mind, I want to go back and dive into more detail with each of those. So let's start with the point you made about feeling like your search campaigns have maxed out on Google ads. What would be some of the indicators internally that would tell you that that's starting to happen?
Right. I think the easiest one would be, I guess there's a few, like if you can't come up with any more keywords, or if you can't, if you're literally spending as much daily budget as possible, we've seen that in really niche companies before, because look, they can only bid on very targeted keywords that make sense to their business. And at some point you kind of reach, 100% impression share. You're showing your ad to everyone that's searching for those keywords, and you're there. That's kind of a rare case because, there's plenty of niche companies, but there's typically some keyword research and expansion that you can do. But I think more importantly is getting a little more scientific about this and looking at the yield curve. And what that is typically like a bell curve, if you can envision that. You're spending a little, you're getting a little back. You spend more, you get more back. But at some point, the efficiency of that yield curve starts to drop off. So as you spend more and more, maybe your cost per sale starts to increase. And that's where you have to make a decision, to cut off budget, because at some point you're going to start wasting more money than you're getting back. What's the ROI of the last dollar spent? That's what, a lot of smart business owners will ask. And if that's less ROI driving than your first dollar spent, then it's time to look into expanding into other channels or dialing in that targeting a little bit. So that's typically when we'll say, all right, you've got a very efficient campaign in Google. As we expand, it's getting less efficient. Let's stop expanding there for now and move those high performing campaigns over to Bing, and basically just, drive a similar value through that.
That's a great explanation, Jordan. And getting to the second point that you'd made about marketers who want to profitably expand their pay-per-click campaigns that they have maybe going in Google, but their internal team or the agency they've retained have difficulty developing creative. Maybe they've tried to get campaigns working, display campaigns, Facebook ad campaigns. They haven't worked, but they know they need to drive additional growth, but it seems like they can only get that from their Google search campaigns. You make the case that Bing ad search is a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it goes back to the marketing funnel. Typically, when you kind of think that you max out your bottom kind of level of that funnel, the highest intent, the highest converting, people think they need to go up the funnel. But in Bing's case, you can actually widen that funnel, and that's as simple as I can explain it. And I think just think about it like that. Like there's more channels at the bottom of the funnel than you know of or than you've tried. Then you should definitely try to widen it versus go up it.
Awesome. Simple enough. So the third reason that you called out was if you're an e-commerce company that is currently leveraging Google shopping campaigns, otherwise referred to as product listing ads within Google, and they're performing well, Bing has a powerful and easy to use platform themselves for shopping campaigns.
Yeah, in Bing they operate extremely similar to how Google functions, and that's because they basically copy them, which is great. Us search marketers have no problem with that because it makes it easy to understand, and I think Bing does it, and they have no issue with admitting that they copy a lot of function from Google because guess what? It's easier to adopt if you know exactly how it's going to operate. So they're trying to get more advertisers from Google over to Bing. But the shopping ads in particular, I mean, we've seen a ton of traffic just shifting year over year towards shopping ads versus text ads in Google. And the same is true in Bing. They're highly clicked on. People want to see the price. They want to see the product. And they click on those shopping ads at a higher rate typically than a search ad. And if it's very product specific, and if it's even a commodity item that a lot of stores are selling, a lot of retailers are selling, Bing and Google will show those shopping ads above text ads and just dominate the click share. So it's very important to be in there.
Those are great reasons by themselves why you should really consider Bing. If you've found yourself saying yes or nodding your head to any of those scenarios that have been outlined, definitely explore Bing ads as a platform. If you're interested in getting Granular's take on that, obviously you can get in touch with us. And so before we sign off, Jordon, was there anything else that you wanted to make sure that we touched on the topic of Bing ads?
Just kind of a funny one. We have Bing ad coupons for advertisers that are moving over to that platform for the first time. And it's really funny because we see, we take on a lot of clients that have been advertising for a while because, we exist because we drive incremental value through paid search. And it's funny to see, they'll have an account history that's huge with Google. They're running for 5 or 10 years and they're brand new to Bing and they still get this like coupon for $100 or a couple $100 based on their spend level. But yeah, in short, we can get you those coupons if you sign up with Bing, and it's so easy to get over there. It's just a no-brainer for expanding profitability in paid search.
I think that's a great place to sign off. Who doesn't like free money? Thanks for listening to the Getting Granular podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any PPC tips, tricks, or news in the digital marketing world. Also be sure to visit our website for more content at granularmarketing.com. This is your host, Steve Kroll. Thanks for getting granular with us today.